What's up, y'all? I am Caleb Ochoa, also known as 22. I'm with my man Derek, also known as DWeezy. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Not too great, not too great. But we'll get to why I'm not too great. Um, all right, this is betting the NFL, the divisional round, second round of the playoffs, and we'll start by recapping what happened the wild card weekend. And the favorites, they dominated. They went 5-1 straight up against the spread as well, and the home team, since they were all the favorites were all home, also went 5-1 against spread and straight up. But the interesting part was a lot of the unders hit. 4 of the 6 um, were all unders, so that was interesting. That defense showed up in the playoffs.
Well, that's one of those things that they say shows up, come playoff times. Run game and defense, those are what you need in the playoffs. And so it doesn't shock me that something like a series of unders hitting, not necessarily throughout the entirety of the playoffs, but it may even speak to it a little better if there's a trend that it shows up earlier in the playoffs versus those later rounds in Super Bowl game.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so we'll start with the upset, the only upset of the week, which was the Niners at Dallas Cowboys. It's also the reason why I haven't been too great lately, because my Cowboys did lose 23-17 as a 3-point favorite, minus 160 on the money line. And, they just got off to a terrible start. They couldn't block no one. They couldn't really get going on offense. And yeah, they were just playing like crap for a minute, and then the Fire Niners just run all over us. Couldn't really couldn't stop them, and then finally Jimmy G makes a mistake. We come back and we get screwed by the refs in the end. So that happens. It was pretty bad for me. Uh, but obviously I picked that game. Um, I was confident that the Cowboys would win and cover the spread. But even if they had gotten that last score at the end, they still would not have covered, even if they had won the game. So, what do you think, man?
Um, yeah, like the lack of discipline that was shown in that game, the amount of penalties, that's really the number one thing that stood out to me. Um, it's just there's really no way to overcome something like that. There's certain things that if you follow the game well enough, that you drastically set yourself back if you could commit certain things, turnovers, penalties, those are at the top of that list. Um, and not to say that they were, there was a lot of turnovers or anything like that. But when you commit a lot of penalties, it doesn't matter if you go out there and put up 4 touchdowns, because if you put up the amount of penalties that they did, if you go out there and put up 4 touchdowns with that amount of penalty yardage, you probably should have had 6 or 7 touchdowns. So that's just how drastic that amount, of penalties can, affect a team and an offense. You saw plenty of plays and instances throughout the game where you had a 15, 20-yard play walked back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and not once or twice. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5 times. Uh, and I mean, that just, and even on the morale side, that has to kill you. Now, I can understand the being disgruntled with the refs and it not being the smoothest transaction that you'd like to see, but that's also one thing where you got to talk about player IQ. And this is something like you have to practice this, not necessarily specifically, you know oh, we ran and did a slide, but you have to practice getting up on the ball in late second situations and knowing every second counts. It's that simple. Every second, half a second. I mean, there's a reason you see the linemen run up basically in formation. There's a reason you see specific actions. Well, the one thing you need to know is if the ref needs to touch the ball, and I know that sounds silly, but when you really think about it, like yes, the ref needs to officially spot the ball. I mean, outside of a bang bang instance like this, you know, it makes more logical sense. You can't, trust the player to spot the ball. Not to say that they're trying to do anything malicious, but that's what the refs are there for. That's part of their job. So if you know the ref needs to touch the ball, don't hand the ball to your center. Hand the ball to the ref. Like that's because not to say we don't even know if the ref had touched the ball first, would if they still had time to get the playoff, things like that. But like I said, it's just the lack of discipline. That's one of those things. There's reasons why people call Tom Brady the GOAT. And, rarely do you see a mental lapse. And there are just certain instances where even a slight mental lapse can cost you dearly. And even though it may have only been to tie the game, you know, you'd rather have that chance to try and tie the game than it end in the fashion that it did.
Well, would have won with the extra point. They would have won the game.
That's assuming they hit the extra point. I'm just
That's
saying. Yeah, let's not. It's not what it used to be. I rather
that's
enjoy
true,
the fact
especially with
that
our
the
kicker. Our
but
kicker.
I rather enjoy the fact that they moved back the extra point, that it's become what it is, because you actually got to sit and watch extra point.
Yeah.
Like, never mind that there's plenty of times where guys almost get there and block it, but you really got to watch the extra point, especially if you got something on the line. You playing a spread, something matchup, straight up, whatever, you know, like they scored. All right, now we're gonna watch this extra point.
Yeah.
Like
But yeah, most of the money in the bets were on the Cowboys
well,
to
that's not
win in
shocking.
cover.
It's a
Well,
public
yes,
team, and I
uh,
mean, yes, they like lead the top of the list of public teams, but I
mhm,
mean that's really not a shocker once you get
yeah,
to
it's not.
playoff time.
But if you did fade the public, and I know that's what sharp bettors like to do, they had a pretty good payout for that
Well,
one.
yeah, because we're idiots apparently.
Yeah, exactly. All right. But the biggest cover against the spread came in the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. Bills dominated them from the start of the game. I mean, it was over. They win 47-17. Uh, they get up on them 27-0. And when they have a deficit like that, the Patriots just do not have the talent on offense. They don't have the firepower to overcome a deficit like that. So they
Yeah,
never
they're
could.
not built in any way, shape, or form to play a game like that. Once I seen the scoring that was happening out of Buffalo, I was like, damn.
Yeah, see,
But
this is the case where the public is right in taking the favorites because this weekend a lot of the favorites won, so the public won this weekend. That the upset of the week was just an outlier of the what happened this weekend, but
and
yeah, the
that
public
kind of yeah, I was gonna
definitely the
say
public
that
wins.
kind of gave a reflection of what we saw in the first week. The favorites came out and basically
Yeah,
smashed the field.
but yeah, so so yeah, a lot of public money won. But but who didn't win came in the bad beat of the week, which was the Raiders in the Bengals. Bengals were -6 favorites, um, and they almost didn't cover. They almost didn't cover because the Raiders were driving, but they stalled at the 10-yard line with like 6.5 minutes left, and then the Raiders decided to kick the field goal instead of going for the fourth down. And that one decision, pretty much had a major impact on the handicappers here, because if they had gone for it and scored, they would have covered the spread and put the game over the total. It would hit the over. But even then, the Raiders still got the ball back with like under 2 minutes left, and the Raiders got all the way to the 9, and well, Derek Carr, threw a pick. So multiple chances to cover a spread, multiple chances to hit it, and if you had the Raiders the plus the 6, you almost had it, but that's why it's a bad beat of the week. What
My question is, if to those that took the Raiders, my question is, what were you doing betting on the Raiders? Like, I'm sorry. I mean, yes, they made it to the playoffs, and yes, that is accomplishment. As you know, the team and the organization, yes, that is something you cherish and you recognize, and you poke your chest out a little bit about that. But it's still the Raiders.
Well, I mean, they almost had it. They had
Yeah,
a
and
chance.
ifs and it almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, yeah, that's winning gambling, but you know, you take chances.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so we'll go on with my own picks. Um, and I went 3-3, 500 this week. And my best pick came in the Pittsburgh Steelers at Kansas Chiefs, and it was my best pick because I had so much confidence in this pick. I think we both on this game. I had no doubt about that. It taking this big large spread, it was my best pick because I never take these big large spreads. But I was just that damn confident that they would kick their ass, and the Kansas City Chiefs did just that. Um, yeah, they. I wasn't even phased that the Steelers like got that early touchdown because it was on defense, and I know the offense wasn't gonna do nothing, and they didn't. Yeah, and I knew the Chiefs were gonna, do their thing and roll over them. But yeah, what do you think?
yeah. I mean, that's basically the game. The game played out the way I expected it to. I expected the Chiefs to come out early and get a lead big. I expected, there to be some late garbage time touchdowns. That's really specifically why like even though I was able to find some what am I alternate spreads that had Chiefs at bigger money for like 21 and things like that. Um it was still I knew there was going to be that, like I said, I knew there was going to be that garbage time TDs and things like that. Um, like you, I ended up, I believe, going 3-3 on the week,
Yeah,
which you know isn't so horrible. I expected a better game out of the New England matchup. But like we said, once that game got out of hand, it was fairly easy to figure out how that one was going to end. Um, I did expect the Arizona game to go completely different than the
mm-hmm.
whooping they ended up taking.
So did I, man. I
Yeah,
thought they were
like
gonna take that, but didn't
yeah,
expect
I
it.
expected more a potential if it became a shootout, more a field goal game. Uh, and that one I was on a few TD props that I ended up going 2-1 on because I had James Conner at +100. He ended up scoring the lone TD for Arizona. I was on OBJ and his TD prop at +180. That hit, you know. So that was a good feeling. I was also on the Zach Ertz touchdown prop because I expected more out of the Arizona offense. This was one of those situations where, you know, what I expected out of the offense was part of the reason why I felt they could cover any sort of spread, potentially win outright. And looking at that, uh, James Conner has been the workhorse back around the end zone. That's where I think a large bulk of his TDs have come from. That's sort of the position I was looking to utilize him in because the same way with handicapping a game for a spread is kind of how you handicap for something like a TD prop. Certain circumstances and situations have to come about. And when those occur, what's the likelihood that such and such gets the ball? Well, it seems like Arizona, when they got around the end zone and got more close, James Conner was that dude. And that kind of is reflected by it was only +100. Um, so it was nice to go 2-1 on the props. Even though I ended up going 3-3 on the spreads for the week.
Yeah. Um. Also, my worst pick came in the Eagles, and I know you had the Bucks in this one, so we were different sides on this one. I had the Eagles. I mean, everything I thought just didn't happen. I mean, I thought they
Tried
were
to
gonna.
tell you, you stop Jalen Hurts, you stop that
Yeah,
team. So basically, you stop that passing game and you stop him You almost hand in hand stop them in the run game,
Mm,
and there's nothing else on that team that scares you.
yeah, yeah. But I thought it was gonna work. I thought that they wouldn't be unprepared for it, and but you know they were. They stopped them. I mean, the freaking Bucks did better running the ball than the Eagles did.
People
You
have
know,
underestimated the Bucks' running ability because they've underestimated that offensive line. Now I say that because we may not see the same offensive line in the next game.
mm,
And that is something that caught my eye while I was watching this game. Um, I knew that Philly's defensive line was something to worry about. And it seemed like the second that I believe it was Worse that went down first, but the second he went down, it seemed like that D line was getting more pressure and started getting to Brady. And then they
yeah,
lost another starter. Now I'm not sure what their injury status is for the coming week, but that would be my main focus going into that this next game, because we've seen in the past what a not even necessarily a beat up offensive line, but one or two injuries, you throw somebody out of place, out of rotation, you know, it can be a massive factor in the playoffs.
yeah. The thing about this game was I thought at the end that I could get a backdoor cover because they got the 15 points. They had one last drive, maybe had a little bit of hope, but no, didn't happen. But whatever. Uh, we'll go on to this week's picks. This is the divisional round. There's 8 teams left in the playoffs, and we'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. And I will take the Titans minus 3.5 points. I think their defense is really good. I think they've been carrying them through most of the season. Even when they did have Derrick Henry, they had to rely on that defense to get them through games, and I think they've done a good job of that. And that defense will limit the Bengals. They have a big play offense. They have get big chunks with throwing to Jamar Chase and all their other weapons that they have. But I think the Titans can limit that, and if they do, I think that's why they will cover. And the defense shows up because they are six in points allowed and 10th in total defense, so they're pretty good. And with Derrick Henry back in this game, I think that will definitely help. They'll keep the Bengals offense and the Bengals offense off the field, and it'll help the defense stay fresh. So that's why I like the Titans minus 3.5 here. What do you got in this game?
Yeah, I'm on the same side with you on the -3. Let me double check. I believe I do have the Titans. Yeah, I was able to actually get it at -3. This is one of those instances where I kind of like that I was able to get it at the -3 just in case the push does come about. If I was on the other side of this, taking the points, kind of sort of that same situation. Well, that's the side you want to get the hook. If you can get that +3.5, you know, that hook will come into play because this could come down to being a field goal game.
Yeah,
You talk about a run game driven offense, ball possession naturally limits the amount of possessions a team can have, and just the possibility for points. That's why quite often when you see a game total for a run team, a game with a run heavy team involved, the totals are generally lower because there's less chance of scoring points because they're more methodical driving the ball down the field and things of that nature. And so yeah, I definitely think that this could be a low scoring game. I do think the Titans will be able to cover. That big playability may come into account, but that could be you know, yeah, you had a 60-yard TD bomb, but if you only put up 13 points in the game, I'm pretty sure the Titans are going to beat you 20-13.
definitely.
A score like that is something I would see, and at that at that score, they're more or less calling this a pick 'em, and better coach. What I feel is the better team overall. Cincinnati has the better quarterback. I'll definitely say that,
Yeah,
but
they do.
they got the better defense. I don't see any reason to, other than, taking a little bit of a leap on faith. I don't see a reason to get behind the Bengals and smoking Joe Burrow.
Okay, we're on the same page there. But next game we got is the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau. Packers are -6, and I will take them laying the points here because Packers have been pretty dominant all season. 13-4, 12-5 against the spread. And any of those wins coming by a touchdown or more. And yeah, the Niners got a big upset against Cowboys last week, but they kind of made a bunch of mistakes too themselves. They were, we saying about how Cowboys were undisciplined. I feel like they 49ers were undisciplined as well, letting the Cowboys back in that game. Um, so I think that those my mistakes are going to really hurt them against the Packers because we know how good of a quarterback Aaron Rodgers is. We know what he can do on offense. And yeah, I just don't trust the Niners offense, mainly because I don't trust Jimmy G. I know he's going to make that mistake like he did last week throwing the interception to let the Cowboys back in the game. And he's probably going to do that here in this game, and that's why I don't trust them. And I think the Packers will win and cover the spread. Yeah, what do you got in this game?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in trying to, at least with the NFL, trying to not necessarily take a number early, but trying to find the lines as early as I can. And with these playoff games, not to say necessarily lines are going up earlier, but you may be able to find them sooner than you normally could, because you said you got this game at -6.
Yeah, I got a -6.
I was able to grab this game at -4.5.
Oh wow, that's a
Yeah,
big
and
difference there.
exactly. And sometimes it doesn't always work out in your case. But that's also the type of thing where when you start to, understand some different angles and way to approach games, you know, you can make a correlated bet or move that doesn't clash with that original play, but could also win if that original play doesn't end up working out for you. They're more or less they're they're independent of each other, but it can be the difference between, a break even situation, or a number of different things. But it's just ways of keeping your eyes open for things, because like you said, that's a pretty big difference in some instances. We might see this line move more. We could see this line move back closer to, the original 4.5 I found it at. um you saying that, I'm just curious, see if I can pull up real quick with the book that I found the 4.5 at,
I
what
I
they're.
use I use Caesars.
Well, I was just curious what this
Yeah,
book's live line, or, current line was. Yeah, it's -6 there. So yeah, like I said, that's a big difference, where I probably got that number. When did they play? Who The 49ers, they played Saturday,
it's
yes.
Sunday. They played Sunday.
Sun Okay. I probably got that number in Monday night, sometime around there.
Mm.
You know, Not to say that I was looking to take the number, but it's just one thing I definitely keep my eyes for, is trying to find lines as soon as they go up, because you might be able to take advantage of it. Of course, now you could be caught on the other end. You took a line extremely early when it first went up, and then best player on that team goes out with some injury. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, it happens.
which is still early right now. Like it's only Wednesday, so like
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
so like
So
you said, it's still gonna move. And I believe it will move probably by the
yeah,
time game time starts.
and that's a perfect situation where, if you thought that number should be around, something like 4.5, maybe 3.5, and you see it at 6, yeah, don't take it. You leave it alone. That's part of this is, handicapping for yourself. And that doesn't mean you got to sit there and break down every game. But if you see a number you don't like, don't touch it. Leave it alone. It's that simple. So yeah,
Nice.
with this game, like I said, I got the -4.5. I it's hard predicting what the 49ers might come out and try and do. Um, I won't sit here. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the one to beat this team. It's not going to be, you know, the head coach. It's not going to be the defense. If Green Bay wins this game, it's because Aaron Rodgers went out there and beat the 49er defense. If they're able to shut Aaron Rodgers down, I think this game will probably go heavily towards San Fran. Like I said, I'm on the -4.5. So clearly, I think Green Bay is going to win this game. We could see a good bit of points put up in this game, even though they're expecting bad weather. Uh, Let me see. Current total I'm looking at for the game, it says 47. So, -6, you're talking about a game 20 to 27, somewhere in that range. Um, I could see it being something like that, or even potentially lower. I mean, you start getting into some of those Green Bay cold weather games. Even Green Bay doesn't like it. Not all those players have been in Green Bay for 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, I'll be on the the 4.5 I got.
All right, so we both have the Packers there. But will we have it on this? We have the same team on this next game. We have Los Angeles Rams +3 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will take the points in this one with the Rams. And simply because I was just impressed by their defensive performance of last week. Like I said, I was surprised. I didn't think that would happen. And that's what gives me confidence in taking them this week. Because I didn't expect that to happen, and I believe that can carry over this game. Especially, like you said, the Buccaneers have some injuries on their offensive line, and when the Eagles did get pressure, Tom Brady was off. He wasn't as sharp, usually is. And I think the Rams can have a more consistent pass rush. Will make him off target, and yeah, the Bucks still have a lack of weapons, in the receiving core. So I think the Rams can take advantage of that in this game. And yeah, the Rams been pretty good against the spread for the last 7 games, 5-2, and that definitely gives me confidence that the trend will continue. So yeah, I like the Rams plus the points.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a little matchup hypothesis. All right, you got Darnold coming. Or you got your pressure from the D line and everybody. Just beast monsters. Like Arnold, he's gonna just tear everybody up on the inside. You got Von Miller matched up on Gronk, who, though Gronk may have the size, Von Miller matches up well with Gronk. I think he has the strength to power through a lot of what Gronk's able to do with his size. And then you got Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans. Like, this is one of the few teams I think that could match up with in the Rams. They could match up with the Bucks because you don't have to blitz, and you can lock up those key pieces with the injuries they got going on currently. If they decide to blitz, they can still try and lock up those key pieces. So this defense might be able to walk out there and do whatever they want in this game.
Yeah. So you got the Rams.
Yeah, I'm on the Rams.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
All right. So we'll have we'll same on that one.
Just
Last
you said +3 because that's
yeah,
what I got
plus
it
I
at.
got +3. Yeah, +3.
Yep, I'm at the same number there.
All
See,
right.
one of if I'm not mistaken, it's only this Green Bay game that I really saw much movement in the original line when I was looking at things. But like you were saying, your reaction when I said -4.5, you know, there hadn't been much movement on these other lines, so it hadn't
Mhm.
mattered much when you came in. But clearly on one line, whether it be a couple big betters out there or just public, clearly that line got to moving pretty fast.
Yeah. But the last game we have is the Buffalo Bills +2 at Kansas City Chiefs. and I'll take them Bills with the points.
You think they're gonna be jumping through tables?
Maybe if that helps them win, if that helps them cover the spread, go ahead do that. But I'll take them because Bills have a really good offense. I've liked the Bills all season. They scored 30 plus points 10 times this season, and I think they'll be able to outscore Patrick Mahomes, who I haven't really liked this season. I don't really trust him. I think he's been too reckless with his throws. Um, and I think that might be his fault in this game. And I'm taking the Bills because like I said, I don't believe in the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are known for their slow starts this season. And if they get behind in this one, I just I believe the Bills' defense is good enough to slow them down at least from really overtaking the Bills. And the Bills are pretty good in the last 5 games against the spread, 4-0-1. So yeah, I like the Bills +2. What do you got?
Let me just double check here. I'm on the other side. I got Kansas City -2.5. I agree with a lot of what you said, and that there's possibility that those things will happen. But the only difference is with a team like Kansas City, even if they fall behind a team like Buffalo, that if they choose to, they can run the ball and try and control the clock. Kansas City does have the ability to potentially score on every drive. You know, a lot of people were enamored with what Buffalo was able to do against New England, and rightfully so. To go out and score 7 touchdowns in a row, yes, you went out there and did something and did it consistently. That's one thing you've heard me harp on, whether it was on LBHT, on here. Consistency is the one thing you want more than anything. That is the most reliable thing when it comes to sports. And so, yeah, the inconsistencies that the Chiefs have had, would definitely be a concern to me. The score being or the spread being as close as it is, I thought was a little shocking. I think basically there's probably a lot of books out there that wanted to make this a pick 'em, and there's no way you can make a playoff game a pick 'em. Like, I don't, at least not the starting line. Like,
Yeah,
I don't see that happening. Uh, there's probably a little bit of science and stuff behind that as far as, how the book operates and things like that. But, yeah, I think the Chiefs inevitably, you're talking about only having to win by a field goal. High-powered offense, type of offense that is proven even if they get behind this year, they have the ability to put up points. Uh, that was definitely one thing we saw from that Chargers game. I don't remember what the final outcome was, but you they won that game if I'm not mistaken, but you saw a massive amount of points put up in a very short relative amount of time as far as NBA time. I mean NFL time, excuse me.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Bills, I just like them. I liked them before the season. Um, yeah, I picked them to go
Oh,
to the
I'm
Super
a
Bowl.
big fan of Sean McDermott. Trust me.
Yeah,
I can understand it. Like, I hate that I'm going through these coaching struggles now as a Panthers fan because I said it back then. McDermott was going to be a good coach. I was mad. I was mad that he got head coaching interviews because I knew he was going to be gone. I knew it was a matter of time. I cursed every time I heard about him interviewing somewhere. Like, it's that simple. I knew this man was a pretty good coach, and I'm not shocked that he has, I hadn't followed, I won't sit here and try and speak on how good the coordinators and other coaches in Buffalo are, but clearly they seem to get the most out of their talent regardless of who they have there. One thing I've said over the years, it was something I heard a former player saying, uh, basically, in the NFL, the quarterback position is the least coach position out of every position in the NFL, and that has shown true throughout basically the history of the game, especially as the game has become more quarterback driven. And that's basically what you've seen in a lot of instances. If this guy doesn't have it when he got there, he's not going to get it. Well, in Buffalo, Josh Allen did not have it. He had some things, but he did not have it.
Yeah.
This coaching staff came in and basically said, we're going to retool this dude. We're going to put in the work and we're going to teach him how to be a quarterback. And that's exactly what they did. Like, it's that simple. Now, you want to maybe talk about different means of going about it? Cool. You ain't necessarily got to go to the point of hooking up all the sensors on your body and stuff and measuring your exact movements. Though I do really agree with that when you're talking about something like throwing motions and mechanics like that. And that's something I know from baseball. More or less, you're trying to repeat the exact same motion. And when you have to do something like turn your throwing base, that can greatly affect your ability to duplicate that throwing motion. In no other sport where you have to perform some sort of, especially in arm action, uh, like that, where you have to rotate and adjust your throwing base just for directionality, really. You know, bowling, you're going the same direction, same line. You know, you may move laterally, but you still go forward. You know, it's still a straight motion. You know,
Yeah.
baseball, you're going forward and it's a straight motion. Football, you're literally, you might turn this way just to throw, but then you turn back this way. Like, there's a lot of, once you start turning the body, like you see stuff like that with tennis players and like gymnasts, where, you got to know exactly where your body is. And you may not have the exact same motion, but you got to know how to react to those things. Uh, in baseball, you'll see players out in the field that make some really crazy and wild throws from different positions and laying on the ground, laying on their backs, all kinds of different things. I promise you, they practice that stuff because you got to know how your body is in that position, or at least have some idea. And so to say that it's the least coached position in the NFL, that's just truly remarkable, because you're talking about basically the most important position on
Yeah.
the team. Like, what about
You
that
just paid the
makes
most.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just gonna throw money at this and see if it works.
pretty much.
So yeah, when
But
it comes to that coaching staff, trust me, like I'm jealous of them. You know, like, because not to say that it's things that'll win the game, but when you have a strong coaching staff, you see like Kansas City, they got Andy Reid. Andy Reid came in and put together that coaching staff, and it's basically been smooth sailing for Chiefs fans since.
yeah,
Like, what's the worst thing that they can say since Andy Reid got there? Oh, we didn't make the playoffs in like 1 or 2 years. Like, that's it. That's all you can say. Like, we got a Super Bowl, we got a couple AFC championships, we got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We've had some really stellar defenses. We got one of the best wide receivers in the league. We got this really stud running back that's only in his second year. You know, the worst thing on the Chiefs fans' mind is that Bieniemy might leave because he gets a head coaching job somewhere. Like, those are good problems to have. Like, I'm trying to get rid of a head coach. They're over there like, we just kind of hope that one of our coaches doesn't leave.
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with those games. That is our picks for the week. But before we go, I do have some over and unders for you guys. I'll start with Bengals, Titans, and I'll take the under 47. Like I said, I like the Titans defense. I think that will limit what they can Bengals will do offense. I think they will control the time of possession, which will lead to run off the time and a low scoring game. So that's why I like the under there. Um, I like the in the Chiefs Bills game. I like the over. Um, and I like the over because I just think I mean these are two big time offenses with really good quarterbacks. I think it will be a big shootout game back and forth. But yeah, it's over 54 and a half points. It's a lot of points, but I think there's just going to be a lot of points scored in that game.
I think there's a strong chance both those teams get at least 30 points.
Yeah, yeah. I think as well. That's why I'll take that. And in the Rams Bucks game, I have the under. I mean, I know their offenses, I know what they look like, but um, I like what the Rams defense did. Like I said, I was really impressed with what they did last week, and I
It's
think they
something
can
I
do
was
it
gonna
again.
say something I'm looking at right now, just at least with the book I'm using. Basically, a lot of what we were saying about the Rams and the 49ers game and their totals being at 47. I'm looking at that Bucks total and it's only at 48 and a half.
Yeah, 48
Like
and a half.
yeah, that's not that much difference. And so, there is the potential that that game could end up, more on the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
Because with that KC Buffalo game, I don't think they can put the total high enough. You still might have to take the over.
yeah. Um, but yeah, we mentioned the 49ers Packers game at 47. I'll take the under. I know what the Packers can do. I just don't think they'll have to do that much because I don't think the 49ers will score all that much points. And the Packers will have a nice lead where they can don't have to score too many points, and it'll hit the under on that one. But yeah, I mean, last week I did pretty well. I mean, that went 3-3 with over and unders. We'll see how I do this week. But yeah, that's all my picks. I mean, do you have anything else for people's?
No, not currently. I will be potentially looking at maybe some TD props and things like that as we get closer to Sunday or as we get closer to kickoff. I do, it's kind of like with what I was saying earlier when you start to handicap these games, though I was not on a Knox TD prop, I wish I had because it was something I looked at in the past during the regular season. And yeah, he's a red zone option that they like to utilize. And I'm not surprised that he ended up with multiple TDs. That could be something to potentially look at again. The books may adjust some to that number because of the, multiple TDs the week prior. But uh like I said with that pass game, going 2-1 on TD props for the game ended up working out pretty good. It basically was just out of the props by themselves plus 180 ended up going. So that will be something I keep an eye on because you find yourself a good number, play it. It's that simple.
All right, man. I think that's the show. So you can go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, y'all can find me at dweatherly90 on Twitter. Um, I kick it up with the LBHT crew on Wednesdays at 7:15 here on YouTube. Check out Lunch Break Hot Take. Um, like I've said before, I'm looking to start up my own channel here in the near future, and we'll definitely be coming with more, not just sports related content and gambling related content, maybe a little bit of variety in some of the smaller stuff. If you've seen some of the other things and videos I've been on, something like a little, Mexican soccer, something a little more outside the norm, because I am a true sports junkie. Like, I be on hockey. You know, I'm in the Discord for LBHT. Recently talking about hockey angles and plays. You know, here tonight, before we were doing this recording, I came across a hockey angle where I'm not a hockey guy. I will not sit here and tell you that I know the teams or I know like who's gonna win the game, but the situation was it was like 3-1 halfway through the second period. The live game total was at 7.5. I needed three more goals. That was it. I know at about 8, 9, oh no, no, excuse me, around 11, 12 minutes left in the third period. Only one extra goal had been or one goal had been scored since, so I needed two more goals. Well, that's exactly the position I wanted to be. It was a tie game. It was 3-3, and essentially somebody was going to take the lead, and I expected there to possibly be a empty net goal, and that's what would put me over that 7.5. Because 3-3, you're sitting at 6. You go up one, you're at 7. In hockey, you do have those empty net situations, trying to tie things back up, having the extra man on the ice. And regardless of which side scores that goal, that puts me over that 7.5. So when you can find yourself in a good angle and a good position, it's it's almost funny and comical how often it'll work out in your favor because games play out in a certain way. And I didn't need for this game to get tied up. This game could have gone into the third period 4-2. The other team, the leading team put up another 3-4 goals in the third period and end up with the same result. So, it's just about finding good angles and trying to find ways to make them work. And when you do, like I was looking at this game at potentially, taking an 8.5 under. I'm glad I didn't because it went to 9.
All right. Well, you can find me at NFL Caleb 22 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on this channel, Good Friends, Better Rivals, and we did a highlight show with me and Ferris did a highlight show with Derek. It's up on the channel right now, so go watch that. If you have any questions about gambling, just hit the comment section. Go ahead and ask. We will read them and we'll try to answer them for you. Um, and also, thanks for watching. And you can find my articles on betting on the website, let'sgetreadynetwork.com. Let's go check that out. And that's pretty much it. Hope you all guys win this weekend. That's all we're trying to do is help you win, and hopefully we can all make some money. So, we'll see you next week. We'll try to win some money in the championship round. See y'all next week.